Good morning and good evening wherever you are. This is Ellie from University of Southern California. Welcome to the series of USC graduate program event, which will help you to learn cutting-edge knowledge in different academic areas and inspire you to think beyond. Today's event is a law school webinar, and it's going to talk about how USC Gould School of Law supports the career development of Master of Law degree program students and alumni. It's our honor to have Sarah Grazas, the Director of Graduate and International Programs, to be our guest speaker today. Welcome, Sarah. Before starting the speech, dear audience, we will have a 15 to 20 minutes session after the speech. So whether you are joining this webinar via Zoom or through our live streaming platforms, please feel free to leave your questions in the chat box at any time. We will try our best to get as many questions as we can. And kindly remind to our Zoom audiences that this webinar will be recorded. So please mute yourself during the presentation for the good webinar quality. Thank you very much. And now I will pass it over to Sarah. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. My name is Sarah Gracious. I'm really excited to present a little information about career opportunities after the LLM for students who are based in China. And so with that, let's get started. As you will see, this event is being recorded. And just to give another overview of the things we'll be talking about today, we'll start by introductions. We'll move on into what opportunities are available in the US after the LLM. We'll cover opportunities through the LLM to JD transfer program. And then we'll also talk about the different post-LLM support that you might receive regardless of where you end up after the LLM. And finally, we'll save time at the end for questions. So if questions come up at any time, as Ellie said, please feel free to add your question to the chat and we will get to it at the end. All right, so we will start with our introductions, and you can see beautiful pictures of our campus on all of these slides. My name is Sarah Gracious. I am the Director of the Graduate and International Programs Office. I also earned my JD from USC in 2010, and I am licensed to practice in California. So I'll be using that experience to talk about what it's like to work as an attorney in the US, if that might be one of the pathways that's of interest to you. And I'm really excited to be joined by my wonderful colleagues, Stephanie and Alice. Stephanie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Lee. I am the Assistant Director of Admissions at the Graduate International Programs Office. Thank you for joining our LLM Career Development webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Steph. Alice, would you like to say hello?
Okay. Hi, everyone. 大家好. I'm Alice Chen. Currently, I serve as the Student Services Advisor for Admission Team of Graduate and International Program at USC Gould School of Law. I originally come from China, and I'm a native Mandarin speaker, so I understand the unique needs from Chinese students during their journey as international students. As both a USC staff member and a US alumni, I'm always committed to supporting international students and connecting them with a USC resource. Thank you for attending the webinar today. I will pass over to Sarah.
Thanks, Alice. And so we have also a lot of great representation in our offices in China from USC. So I'm really excited to be joined by Wenting Wu, who is going to be speaking a little more in depth in this presentation about the career services in China. Wenting, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. I'm Wenting Wu, the Director of Employer Relations in USC China Career Services. 大家好，我是南加大中国办公室负责职业发展和雇主关系的老师，然后非常开心今天在线上可以跟大家见面，谢谢 Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
And we're also joined by Amy Ann, who is the Director of Greater China Graduate Recruitment in our Strategic and Global Initiatives Office. Amy, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Hello, everyone. My name is Amy. I'm the Director of Graduate Recruitment in Greater China, Office of Strategic and Global Initiatives. We're based in Beijing. We have been supporting different departments on their outreach over China through different social medias. Glad to meet you all today. I'm sure you will benefit from this informative session and make your right choice of choosing USC Gould School of Law. Beitang. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Amy. And thank you for helping us coordinate this, this presentation in China. And as you can see, we have a number of other directors throughout Asia, including Crystal Feng in Beijing, Eda Wang in Hong Kong, Ian Choi in Seoul, Emily Miao in Shanghai, and Pei Sui Chu in Taipei. I got that one. I think some of them might be joining us. So if you're here, thank you again for joining us. And if you attend USC, I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of them gearing up towards your launch to Los Angeles and as support and resources after you graduate. All right, so with that, we will turn to the meat of the presentation to talk about career opportunities in the US. And in this part of the presentation, we'll talk about what career outcomes might be likely for our graduate students, the professional support you can receive with your career development through our Graduate and International Programs Office. I'll chat a little bit about the bar exam, as well as ways that you can get experience in the US as a volunteer or a practicing attorney. And finally, I'm very excited. We'll be joined by two current students who can share a little bit more about what it's like to be a student at USC. All right, so just to set the stage, California is one of the largest global economies. So if you consider California as a state, kind of separate from the US, I think it's ranked like number 6 in the world. So it's an enormous resource of kind of markets and creation, and it's a really exciting place to be. And with that, of course, there are a lot of opportunities. You can see that California has the largest number of attorneys in the US with over 87,000 positions. That's just in our state. And Greater Los Angeles is the 3rd largest metropolitan legal market in the US. What that means for you is that there are companies that represent all kinds of industries that have headquarters or offices in Los Angeles, or sometimes even San Francisco or Orange County, but in California. And so you have the opportunity to access a really wide array of industries depending on what is of interest to you. When you are a student, you might get experience as a volunteer, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But you can also consider positions after graduation as a law clerk, a legal assistant. You might work with a judge. Typically, you're going to be looking at positions in smaller to mid-sized firms or companies, and that's going to give you a lot of great exposure to the way law is practiced in the US. If you decide to sit for a US bar and become a licensed attorney in the US, you can then pursue attorney positions. You do need to have a US license to apply to any attorney positions, but you can look at both positions with law firms as well as in-house positions. So it's a really dynamic, diverse kind of market where the industries, there's so much kind of growing legal areas with, especially with cyber law and privacy. California is very well known for kind of entertainment and all of the things happening with streaming services and rights. And so there's a lot of really interesting things that you can be a part of when you come to California and you have kind of access to all of those great opportunities. When you are a student with us at USC Gould, we have a lot of support for you if you're planning to kind of stay and work in the US. So I, along with one of my other colleagues, really closely support students with their career development goals. We are both licensed attorneys. We're both licensed to practice in the US and have worked as attorneys. So we understand what law firms are looking for. We can help prepare you so you can be the best candidate as you are pursuing positions in the US. During the year, we host a series of workshops and presentations to educate you about what employers are looking for and how to position yourself in a strategic way to be a competitive candidate. So some of the things that we cover include working in the US legal market, specifically in the US, resume and cover letter templates. We provide individualized reviews for your documents. You can meet with us to do a mock interview, and we also have a number of ways that you can connect with us through email, through our drop-in advising, or through one-on-one scheduled appointments. Because we focus on an international student base, we have a lot of understanding of the particular issues that international students might face when coming to a US market. And so we're here to help you navigate some of those challenges, again, so you can be as successful as possible. We participate in 2 LLM-only job fairs in New York and Los Angeles, and these can be a great opportunity to get access to some law firms that are hiring, to practice your interviewing skills, and also to network. And then, depending on kind of what your ultimate career plans are, our degrees support a specialized certificate that you can earn with the degree at no additional cost. The options vary by your degree, but we do offer certificates in entertainment, business law, alternative dispute resolution, technology and entrepreneurship, and transnational law and business. And this can be a nice way to add value to your transcript and your resume and demonstrate an interest in a particular field of law. And I'd like to very briefly discuss the US bar. It would not be a conversation about work in the US without talking about the process to become an attorney in the US. And part of that process includes passing a test that we call a bar exam. So the unfortunate thing about the US is that we are state specific here. So the practice of law is governed by an individual state, and there is no federal law license. And that means that you will want to become licensed in the specific jurisdiction or state where you want to practice. For most of our students, that could be New York or it could be California, depending on your preference. And even if you ultimately plan to return home after graduation or after your optional practical training experience, and you do not intend to work in the US on a permanent basis, I would still encourage you to consider what opportunities might become available to you if you have a US bar license. It is extremely unique that a foreign educated law graduate can come to the US, take classes for 1 year, and then become eligible to sit for the exam. So you have a really rare opportunity to become dual licensed in arguably one of the largest, legal countries in the world, in the US, where having on your resume a US law license will certainly demonstrate to employers not only your proficiency and understanding of US law, but it will also give you the opportunity to work with US-based clients. So this can really be a market opener for you if you have that law license. And you know, we talk a lot to our students about the bar, and so it's not something that you have to decide immediately, but it is something that I would like you to think about seriously as you continue on your professional development journey. Students at USC can enroll in classes to prepare for the California, New York, District of Columbia, Washington State, and Texas bar exams. So it's nice we have a very specific set of courses. We share that information with you, as well as really detailed guides about all of the steps that you need to do to register for the exam and really prepare. In addition to the support that we provide on the more like administrative and advising side, we also offer a series of early bar prep workshops throughout the year. And these are a fantastic way for you to get more insight about what the US bar is testing. So these workshops touch a little bit on the subjects that are tested by the bar, but they also carefully look at the modality in which you are being tested, because the bar is comprised of 3 separate components. It has multiple choice, essay, and what we call a performance test. And so in these lectures and these workshops, you get an overview of what each of these components look like. So you can be more prepared as you start working up towards the bar exam. And I know that this is a question that people might be thinking now, can I pass the bar after the LLM? The answer is yes. You absolutely can pass after the LLM. You do not need to have a JD to pass the bar exam. It really comes down to how motivated you are to want to pass, right? If you know that having that US bar license is going to be an essential part of your career development, then yes, you will know that you can focus on what you need to learn to prepare and then pass the exam. So now I'd like to talk a little bit about the way that you can get work experience, both during and after the LLM. So one of the best things about pursuing a graduate degree in the US is the opportunity to see what it's like to practice law from real practitioners and attorneys. So there are a few different ways that you can kind of see what it's like. And number one, we have a good number of courses at the law school that are what we call experiential, meaning that you will be kind of practicing the skills that you will use as an attorney after graduation. And this could be something like negotiations or contract drafting, presentations. And so it's a good way to get that exposure to specific skills that you're going to need in a classroom environment that's very supported and also really diverse and dynamic. We have one legal clinic at the law school for our graduate and international students, and that is the Practical Mediation Skills Clinic. This is a really great opportunity to help people because you'll be representing real clients, mediate disputes out of Superior Court system in the greater Los Angeles area. So you are supervised by practicing attorneys, and then you get to meet with the clients and help them kind of build towards that mediation resolution. Another good way to get experience is to volunteer. So one of the benefits of being at USC and being in Los Angeles is that we have so many legal nonprofits in our community. And they typically are always open to volunteers. So this can be a really good way to not only help people who really need that legal support, but also for you to see, how is this practice? How does it look in the US? You can start to build your network of practicing attorneys as well and get some experience on your resume. Another way that you can get that experience is through what we call an externship. This is very similar to volunteer work, except that you are doing it for academic credit. And so with an externship, you'd be working off campus with a legal provider. It could be a nonprofit organization. It could also be in-house legal department. It could be an entertainment organization. It could be a law firm. And you get the benefit of kind of practicing that work experience and also receiving academic credit. Similar to externships is curricular practical training, or CPT. This is a visa status that allows you to work for compensation off campus. It's only eligible, there are only certain students who are eligible. You must have maintained F1 status for 1 year. But if you are one of those students that it applies to, we help you enroll in the CPT course so that you can get the benefit of working off campus and making money. With externships and CPT, it's really important to know that we don't do placements. However, we have a lot of resources and support for you. So we provide information about local nonprofits, places where other students have worked or externed. We can meet with you to help support your networking goals. And also we have a fantastic alumni network, which is how a lot of students get started, by contacting an alum and then volunteering or working with them. And finally, you have the opportunity to work after graduation through optional practical training, or OPT. This is a 1-year extension of your F1 visa that allows you to work in the US without sponsorship. It's a fantastic way to get that experience and just see what it's like, whether you want to stay in the US or not. Even if you know you're planning to return home after your OPT period is up, it just gives you some more opportunities and flexibility to pursue things that might interest you. This is a really great way to get that on your resume, have that US-based work experience, and then bring it with you wherever you decide to continue your professional career. And now I'm really excited to introduce our current students, and I will actually turn it over to Alice to help facilitate this conversation.
Thank you, Sarah. We invited two of our current LLM students to share about their experiences at USC Gould School of Law on how can students take advantage of the career development support and the resources available at USC Gould. They will share their insight in Chinese. So the first student we invite today is Chen Yuan. She was admitted to our LLM in privacy law and cybersecurity in the fall 2023. She got her bachelor's degree and a master of laws degree from Jilin University in China. Over the past 10 years, she had professional experiences as data compliance officer and in-house lawyer. She has worked for big companies including TCL and Meidi in China. Also, she is a mother of 3 kids. Now I will pass over to Chen Yuan to share her insights.
大家好，我叫陈媛，然后我在来这里之前，我是美的集团的法务，然后是属于高级合规官，负责整个美的集团的全球数据和反垄断合规。然后我是去年加入 USC 的，然后在这之前呢，我是已经工作了12年，所以说呢，我是以一个工作党的身份来加入 USC 的。USC 的话，其实是给我们提供了很多的资源，然后让我们去更好的提升一下我们的那个市场竞争力。然后包括呢，首先第一个我觉得比较好的就是我们的那个Gould 的平台上是有很多的跟工作有关的一些资源的。然后包括我们的 advisor 是会帮我们去修改简历，然后我们也可以去找 advisor 去聊一下我们的面试应该怎么样去做，然后也可以去体验一下我们的面试。 然后同时呢，我们平时的话是会有很多的 workshop 的。这些 workshop 的是有关于跟工作有关的，也会有一些跟工作没有关系的。但是呢，就是说这一些都可以给我们提供一个很好的体验。我们会知道，就是说这些律师也会过来分享他们在律所的一些工作经验，然后呢也会有一些其他的公司的法务来给到我们的一些分享，这些我们都是可以自由参加的。然后另外一个的话，我们是会有一些线上的招聘会，这些是我们可以参加的。同时呢，我们USC本身也是会有一个很大的一个 career center，这个 career center 的话，它有很多的资源，我们也是可以享用的。所以说，我觉得这一些资源的话，其实给到我们学生很多的支持，包括我们在这边找工作，或者是我们回国去找工作，都是可以很有帮助的。然后同时呢，我们很多的人来这边的话，可能会希望去参加一个纽约的 bar 或者是 CA 的 bar，然后这边的话，学校是会提供很多的支持的，包括我们中午的时候有可能也会有一些 bar review，就是免费的一些培训，然后去给到我们，然后这些我觉得还是都是比较好的一个体验。然后另外一个的话，我其实比较特殊，我不是 general 的那个 LLM，而是一个隐私方向的。我之所以选择 USC，就是因为我很喜欢这个方向，因为我之前在美的时候就已经是隐私的负责人了，然后做了有大概6、7年的隐私合规，所以说我专门选择了这一个方向，因为我们现在是在 CA 嘛，是所有的高科技企业和互联网公司基本上在这边是有企业的，所以说呢，我会比较倾向于这一个。然后另外一个的话，我觉得还有一点，可能之前是没有提到的，就是我其实来正式开学之前，我是有参加一个暑期的 LSE 的项目，我觉得这个项目非常的好。如果大家真的想来这边读书的话，我非常建议大家去体验一下这个 LSE，因为暑期项目，首先第一个你可以提前1个月来到这边，然后熟悉一下这边的生活。然后另外一个的话，暑期项目的老师都是基本上有20年以上经验的律师、法官，还有就是一些公司法务，所以是非常值得参加的。然后我分享就基本上到这里，然后欢迎大家加入 USC。
Thank you, 陈远. Thank you so much. We appreciate your insight. Moving on, our second student representative is Tyler Dong, who was admitted to our one-year LLM program in the fall of 2023. Tyler got his bachelor's degree in law at Beijing Jiao Tong University in 2022. He has internship experience at King & Wood, Mallesons, and other international companies. So I will now pass over to Tyler.
嗨，大家好，我是 Tyler。然后，主要想跟大家介绍一下我为什么会选择 USC，是因为，我在北京交通大学毕业以后，其实我还有一段在华东政法大学的学术的一个经历，然后我选择了放弃这段经历，然后毅然决然的来到了 USC，主要是因为还是想要留下来，所以我会更加偏重告诉大家一些怎么样去留下来的干货。选择 USC 主要是一方面它可以提升我们的业务能力，像刚才陈源还有 Sarah 都有提到过的，会帮我们改简历，然后提升我们的个人技能。然后另一方面就是我们的身份问题。然后像如果说想留下来的人分为2类，一类就是可能就是想要把 OPT 花完，然后就直接回国了；另一类就是想要通过 OPT，然后之后就慢慢的留在美国的一些人。那么对于这2类人，我们 USC Career Service 的服务都是可以能够很有效帮助你去找到一个工作，然后去顺利的度过一个 OPT。然后关于身份问题的话，其实我们通过 OPT 以后就需要公司的 sponsor 去进行一个帮我们抽 H1B 签证的一个动作。然后在 LA 的话，因为LA 是一个非常多元包容的城市，其实对于华人来说是非常友好的，而且这里人比较多，机会也比较多。然后像 Sarah 刚才也有提到过，然后这样一个地理位置的话，我们会更好的去找到一个比较好的实习，然后去慢慢的把我们的经历转正。那么还有一个痛点就是我们的 OPT 的话，其实只有1年，不管是哪个学校，我们的文科专业就是只有1年。那么如果说抽不到这个 OPT， 抽不到 H1B，我们就可能面临一个一定要回去的一个风险。那么其实我做的一个决定就是在完成 LM 以后再去读一个 STEM 的项目，这样的话就可以有3年的 OPT。那么选择 USC 就是因为我们法学院就有一个这样的项目，可以让我们得到3年的 OPT，就叫做 Miller。但为什么我还要去读一个 LLM 呢？是因为只有 LLM 可以才让对于让我们这些读了法本的同学来说，可以去考霸。有了霸以后，有了我们的一个律师执照以后，我们才会有更好的就业机会。然后在考完霸以后，读另外一个第2个学位的期间，我们就可以去参加 CPT。像刚才 Sarah 说的，要在美国待够1年才可以使用那个 CPT 的机会。那么我可以在读另一个学的时候，我就用这个 CPT 的机会去积累更多的实习经验。然后这样子的话，在我正式使用 OPT 之前，我才就更能够找到一家好的公司，愿意去为我 sponsor， 去帮我抽签证。所以这是我选择 USC 的一个很重要的一个原因。然后还有一个就是，如果说真的运气很不好，就是抽不到，那其实还有另一条路，就是可能大家或多或少都有听说过，就是婚绿。当然，我不是提倡大家去做一些违法的事情，就是比如说大家在 LA 的话，人很多，机会也很多，就可能会遇到不一样的浪漫，或者就是说我们这里的生活非常的精彩。还有一点，选择学校的时候，就是大家可能会比较在意 T14和 T20这个关键的因素。那么我想说的就是，这个评估指标是针对 JD 同学的。其实我们选择 LLM，我们更要关注 LLM 能为我们带来什么。我选择 USC 是因为其实娱乐电影行业也是它的一个强项。然后我自己个人，我就会去选修一个 Entertainment Certificate。然后像这个学期，为了去完成我的 Entertainment Certificate，我还去修了一门电影学院的课。这也是我认为 USC 能够给我更多一个去进行 networking， 去结交更多的朋友，去认识不同圈层的人的一个机会。以上就是我的一个小分享和我一个个人经验。然后欢迎大家来到 USC， 希望能在这里见到大家，谢谢。
Thank you so much, Tyler. I appreciate both of your invaluable contribution to today's discussion in different perspectives. So now I will pass back to Sarah for next part.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't speak any Mandarin, so I trust that you gave some really valuable insights. So we'll turn next to the LM to JD transfer process. And I wanted to share a little more about what this looks like, because I know that some students might be deciding between the LLM and the JD, or just wanting to learn a little bit more about what distinguishes the degrees or what options might be available. So in this section, we'll talk about why people might prefer a JD. And then I'll go into some of the details of the eligibility for the transfer application, and then what that application looks like. And finally, we'll be joined by one of our alums who transferred to the JD program, who can share a little bit more about her experience. So some students want to know why a JD might be preferred, or they're wondering whether it makes sense to do an LLM or a JD. It really depends on what your specific career goals are. Some people may prefer the JD depending on what they're looking for and their kind of specific positions that they have in mind that they'd like to achieve after graduation. So for some context, the JD is the standard of legal education in the US. So if you come to the US and you start looking for jobs, you'll see that in a lot of the job postings, they will either indicate JD is required or JD preferred. And this is because the majority of employers are employing US workers who hold a US JD. And so their understanding is you know, their understanding is focused on the US JD, and they don't have a lot of experience with other attorneys who might be qualified through a different path besides the JD. So you may see that certain positions or certain employers may require a US JD to have that role. A JD consists of 3 years of specialized post-bachelor's courses. The benefit of the JD curriculum is that it's set. So you have mandatory 1L classes that you take during your first year, and then you have upper division courses that you take during your second and third year. And the way the curriculum is structured is meant to give you a foundational understanding of common law that we practice in the US, as well as opportunities to refine some of the skills that you need to practice law and be a successful attorney. And that can include writing, oral arguments, negotiations, arbitrations, and things like that. And so with the JD curriculum, you do have the opportunity to apply for participation in one of our law clinics, one of our journals, or moot court. And so these are honors programs that are options for JD students in their second and third years. Another benefit of the JD is that, again, because it's a standard of legal education in the US, once you've successfully completed the JD, you are going to be eligible to sit for the bar exam in any state, or maybe with some very, very minor restrictions. And this is very different from students who have a foreign legal education who come to the US to do the LLM, because only certain jurisdictions will review and recognize foreign legal education. So notably, California and New York, those are the 2 biggest jurisdictions in the US. I would say DC also has a lot of attorneys practicing in that jurisdiction, and those jurisdictions all recognize foreign legal education to be able to sit for their exam. But depending on, again, what your personal goals are, you might be interested in working in a different state that maybe does not recognize your foreign legal education, in which case JD might be a better fit for you. And finally, a lot of students are really interested in participating in what we call on-campus interviewing. It's an interview program specific to JD students that happens after their first year. And it's an exciting opportunity because you get more exposure to very top tier companies and law firms that would like to hire you as a starting associate. Because the JD is 3 years, the hiring timelines are a little bit different. So you'd work as a summer associate after your second year. And then if you do a good job as a summer associate and you pass the bar, they'll typically offer you a permanent position after graduation. And so a JD, I think I mentioned it before, but a JD is not required to work in the US as an attorney. You do not need to have a JD to be a competitive applicant for jobs in the US. A JD can be a better fit, again, really depending on your personal preferences. If, for example, you know that you are going to relocate to the US permanently, or there is a particular firm or company that you want to work for and you know that they require JDs. So I would say for the majority of the students that we work with, an LLM is typically a better fit because you get a really great opportunity to learn in 1 year, the opportunity to possibly become licensed, or excuse me, to become eligible to sit for the bar exam and become licensed. And for most students with, the idea of returning back to their home country, it doesn't make sense to do the 3-year investment in the JD. So it really, really depends on you. For those of you who are interested in the JD program, I'll talk a little bit about the transfer opportunity that we offer at USC. You need to be a graduate of one of our LLM programs. And you must have a first degree in law from outside the US. So once you've met those kind of two very strict requirements, you can start thinking about positioning yourself as a transfer student. And to do that, you would need to take at least 15 units in JD courses during your LLM. So as LLM students, you have the opportunity to take LLM only classes or courses that are mixed with JD students. So to be a transfer candidate, you would need at least 15 units of classes with JD students. We do not have a minimum to apply to the transfer, but we do recommend a GPA of 3.5 or higher. This is about the top, I would say 3.5 is probably the top 30% of the class. We do recommend very strong English proficiency. If you have a TOEFL or IELTS score, they will look at that. They will also consider the fluency of your personal statement. And if you are selected to be a final candidate, you will also interview with the Dean of JD Admissions. So really helpful to have a great score at your English proficiency exams. And we know that you also gain a lot of fluency simply by being in the LLM and studying in Los Angeles for a year. So that is certainly also a helpful time to work on your fluency. If you are admitted to the program, you will earn both degrees in 7 semesters or 3.5 years. When you enroll in the JD program, that first year you'll take all of the 1L required curriculum, and then you'll use the remaining 3 semesters to complete upper division requirements. With the transfer program, you do not need to take the LSAT, so that can be a big boost. I know it's never fun to take a standardized exam. But one thing to keep in mind is that there's no scholarship available to transfer students. So if you are thinking about a JD program and you know that you would depend on financial aid to enroll in the program, I would encourage you to apply as a direct candidate. It is a little bit more competitive. You do need to take the LSAT, but then you also have the benefit of the scholarship. So let's move on to application process. The application for the transfer program opens in April every year, and if admitted, you would begin that fall. So there's no deferral available. You can apply within 3 years of graduating from the LLM, and it's a pretty quick turnaround. So typically you'll apply before the application closes on June 15th. Once your LLM grades are published, we share those with the JD admissions office. They review the candidates and start making those decisions, usually by the end of July. If you are admitted and accepted into the program, you can participate in on-campus interviewing that first year. And then, as I shared, you'd start with the 1L curriculum first and then move into the upper division electives in the remaining semesters. And so the LLM to JD transfer program, it can be a good option if you are not sure whether the JD might be a good fit for you. I think some students come to the LLM program with the intent to apply as a transfer student to the JD program. And others kind of develop that interest during their studies. So they really enjoy their time at Gould. They really like the professors and the faculty and the courses that they're taking, and they'd simply like to take more of them. Or it might be that as you pursue different career options, you find that having a JD is better aligned with your personal career goals. So it's a good option, I think, for students if you're not 100% on the JD, you still have the opportunity to apply as a transfer student during your LLM or up to 3 years after graduating. All right, and with that, I'd like to introduce our alum, who earned both the LLM and the JD and is a licensed California attorney, currently at Clyde Ellis. Are you there to introduce Ming Mei?
Oh, Sarah. Yeah,
Hey,
I can
Sarah.
Hi, I can introduce Ming Mei here.
Perfect.
So we are happy to invite our alumna Ming Mei Zhu here, who graduated our LLM in 2016. Ming Mei also earned her JD degree at USC Law School in 2018. She passed the California bar and is currently working at Clyde & Co. law firm in the US as an associate attorney. So Ming Mei, can you share your experience as a LLM JD transfer students at USC? And also, what would you recommend to LLM students in terms of career development and its preparation?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Sarah and Stephanie. Thank you so much for having me, and nice to see you guys again. And I'm going to share my experience with everybody in Chinese now. 首先就是我是跟大家分享一下为什么当时我想就是申请转 JD。第一个就是我在USC 读 LLM 的时候，我觉得是一段比较快乐的时光。然后我自己也想在校园里面再多待一段时间，多去学习一些东西。因为读 LLM 的时候只有1年，当时学的是一些美国的一些专门的法律，比如说公司法呀，或者是说知识产权法这些。但是对美国的那些基础学科，比如说侵权法呀、合同啊，就美国那些刚刚说的他们说的那个 One L 的那些基础学科，就并没有学到，没有一个比较系统的学习。然后还有就是，我自己当时也是比较想在美国找工作的，所以我觉得可能读一个 JD 的话，可能对我的找工作会更有帮助。所以当时就是基于这些原因，我就申请了转 JD。然后转 JD 的这个过程就跟刚刚 Sarah 说的差不多，他大概第2个学期的时候会有一些讲座，然后跟你们说怎么申请啊，申请的截止时间啊，有哪些准备材料啊这些。然后，我觉得这个是一个比较好的项目，因为第一就是你不用考那个 LSAT，这个 LSAT 虽然我自己是没有考过，但我知道这个确实是比较难的一个考试，而且也耗费的时间也比较长，可能有些人他可能需要花费，比如说1年或者甚至更长的时间去准备这个考试。但是如果说你可以直接内部去转这个 JD 的话，你就不需要去考这个 LSAT。然后其次就是说，因为 USC 这个学校还是很不错的，就是你转了 JD 以后，你去对你后续的找工作也还是挺有帮助的。因为我知道，有一些人他可能自己去考那个 LSAT，可能他考的成绩也不一定很理想，他可能最后还不一定能升到 USC 这么好的学校。所以说如果有这个机会，就是大家比如说成绩还不错，然后也挺想继续学习的话，我还是很建议大家去申请一下这个program 的。然后这个申请的过程，我觉得也不是那么的难吧，因为我觉得 GIP Office 特别好一点，就是它会在你的方方面面，它都会给你各种帮助，给你各种 support。就当时我转 JD 的时候写的那些文书啊、那些材料啊，或者那些文件，我都有让 Sarah 去帮我修改啊这些的。然后我们当时是没有面试的，但是我觉得我的文书，我觉得我能被录取的一个很重要的原因就是 Sarah 有就帮我修改我的文书。所以我觉得就是，如果大家对于想在美国后续找工作，或者想在学习的时间长一点，想能够系统的学习，美国法律的话，我还是很建议大家可以去申请一下这个转 JD 的。就是成不成功另说，但是至少可以尝试一下。然后关于在美国找工作的话，如果说大家只是读了一个硕士，然后想在美国找工作，我觉得还是有很多工作机会的。因为我们同一届的同学，我知道就可能有2、3个吧，他们读完硕士以后选择留在美国，然后他们也都找到工作，然后也有拿到 sponsor，然后现在也一直在美国发展，也还发展的挺好的。而且我有在小红书上刷到很多可能其他学校的一些硕士毕业的一些同学，他们也有找到在美国的律所啊，然后在美国也有，然后他们律所有给他们 sponsor 啊，然后留在美国发展的。所以我觉得这个就是就业的机会还是挺多的。 而且，据我所知，就是移民所的话也会比较欢迎，就是也有很多比如说像我们这些中国来的学生，因为确实现在中国人申请这个H1B 啊或者绿卡人还是挺多的，所以如果说大家也不排斥说去移民所工作的话，这个移民所的工作机会也是很多的。所以说，如果大家硕士毕业想留在美国的话，我觉得还是难度不是很大。然后对于这个找工作的准备的话，首先很重要的就是 GPA，就不管你是转 JD 啊，还是说找工作，你的 GPA 都还是很重要的。所以大家在学校的时候就是要好好上课啊，然后把这个 GPA 尽量能弄得高一点就比较好。然后在学校如果有这个精力的话，也可以去多参加一些比如说课外的活动，就是比如说有一些模拟法庭啊，或者是一些期刊啊，如果你能去那儿做一些 editor 啊，或者是author 啊，这种就也是很给你找工作很加分的。然后还有就是GIP Office 也确实有给到大家很多的资源，就像刚刚他们提到的，可以帮你改简历啊，帮你改 cover letter 啊，他们也有一些 sample，你可以用那些 sample 去写，然后让他们再帮你修改，然后他们也可以去帮你模拟面试啊，这个我觉得还是很有帮助的。当时我也是参加了，我参加的是洛杉矶的那个 job fair，我记得是在 UCLA 的，然后当时也是有找 Sarah 帮我改了一下我的 resume 什么的，然后我当时确实也是拿到了一个 offer，一个挺不错的 offer，只是后来我因为转了 JD，我就没有去了。然后还有就是在这边的话，大家也可以通过 networking，就是去找工作呀，或者是说得到一些前辈的一些帮助吧。因为据我所知，在就是 USC 就是 LM 啊，或者是 LM 转 JD 啊，或者是 JD 的，在这边的人还是挺多的。大家都发展的还都挺好的，所以说如果说大家之后有这个兴趣的话，可以去 reach out to 这些以前的校友啊，然后可以找他们帮你们模拟面试啊，或者说改改简历啊，或者说给你们一些就业上的指导啊、方向啊，我觉得我们都还是会很愿意给大家一些帮助的。然后还有就是，如果说你们想要在美国找工作的话，如果说你没有过这个 bar 的话，你就只能做，比如说 law clerk，或者说 paralegal，或者有些做 legal assistant。所以说，如果你们想要硕士毕业以后想要在美国留下来找到一个好的工作的话，就还是一定要过这个 bar。如果说你想留在加州发展的话，那你就得过加州 bar；你要想在纽约发展，你就得过纽约 bar。但是，据我所知，也有一些人他是做法务，然后他考的纽约 bar，然后在加州也可以执业。这个就看你们自己个人的一个职业规划吧。如果说你想要找工作不受限制，就是你既可以找法务，也可以找律所的话，那可能就考加州 bar 比较好。如果你们想留在加州发展的话，然后主要就是这些吧。如果大家有什么问题的话，可以再打在这个对话框里面，或者也可以给我写邮件。Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you, Mingmei. It was really good to see you. Hope you're doing well. And I am excited now to talk a little bit more about the career support that we offer in China because it is very robust. So I will now turn the presentation over to Wenting to share a little bit more about the work that their office does.
Thank you, Sarah. 大家好，我是负责 USC 学生职业发展中国办公室的负责人文婷。那今天非常开心有机会参与 USC 法学院的线上的宣讲活动，分享 USC 学生职业发展中国办公室给我们同学提供的求职以及就业的服务。Next slide, please. 南加大学生职业发展中国办公室于2018年初在中国上海正式成立，隶属于南加大国际事务及全球的战略中心，与南加大各级的学生职业发展部门紧密的合作。通过组织和举办大型的招聘会、职业发展论坛、企业合作项目、求职讲座、1对1的咨询和中国职业发展导师项目、南加大中国职业发展校园大使项目等服务，为即将回国的学生和已经回国的年轻校友提供强有力的职业发展和就业的服务。那接下来呢，我将为大家详细介绍一下我们各类的一些服务。Next slide, please. 那每年秋招季的时候，南加大学生职业发展中国办公室呢，我们会联合南加大校一级的学生职业发展中心，邀请中国地区的雇主参与到校内的线下招聘会以及企业的宣讲活动。那大家看到的图片里面的这些企业呢，其实都是曾经来过南加大线下参与到我们的线下的招聘会以及各个学院以及各个项目的招聘的宣讲活动。Next slide, please. 那每一年的秋季呢，如果说企业是没有办法来到我们线下参加我们的这些招聘活动的企业，我们也会邀请他们来参加我们专门为国际学生主办的国际学生线上的招聘会活动，那为同学们提供更多的求职的机会以及信息。在我们的图片中，大家可以看到参与到我们招聘会的企业都是来自于各行各业比较头部的这些企业，为我们的同学们提供更多元化的职业发展的机会。Next slide, please. 那么除此之外呢，在暑假的期间，我们还会联合多所海外高校，在上海、北京、深圳、广州等城市举办线下的招聘活动。那包括了我们的线下招聘会、学生职业发展论坛、行业求职分享活动、线下的企业宣讲会，以及1对1的简历以及面试的辅导。那目前为止呢，已经有超过3800位南加大的同学、毕业生以及年轻的校友参加过我们暑期的在国内举办的各类的活动。那超过了400家企业通过参与我们主办的各类职业发展活动，为同学们提供实习、全职机会以及多元化的求职资讯。Next slide, please. 那大家可以看一下，这些都是曾经参加过我们在中国地区这些大的城市举办的一些线下的活动。他们通过我们的招聘会论坛和宣讲会以及学生求职的各类辅导的活动，参与到我们的活动中来帮助和支持我们的同学在中国地区及其他的亚太地区进行就业和找实习的这些项目。好 ，Next slide。这些都是我们近期在国内举办的一系列的活动，然后大家可以看到学生非常踊跃积极的参与到我们的线下的活动，不管是招聘会也好，还是论坛也好，还是我们线下的企业宣讲会，企业其实都是给了我们同学带来了各类的求职的机会和线下的职业的信息。不管是对于我们即将毕业的同学，还是说我们刚刚入校的这些同学，都给他们提供了各类的一些求职的一些机会和信息。Next slide, please. 在每一年的春招的期间呢，因为同学们也没办法回到国内，那么我们中国办公室会举办各类的线上的求职的招聘的活动。包括了一场针对中国雇主的线上招聘会，多场行业的分享会以及企业的宣讲会，学生求职辅导工作坊比如如何撰写简历面试技巧，还给同学们提供更多的秋招的求职机会以及暑假的实习的机会。Next slide, please. 那为了给同学们提供更多的求职建议及咨询，我们办公室设立了1对1的求职辅导咨询。同学们可以通过电子邮件预约的方式，跟我们办公室的求职辅导老师进行1对1的求职咨询。我们的老师会根据每个同学的情况给予辅导，包括简历辅导、面试辅导、模拟面试、行业以及企业的求职辅导等等。Next slide, please. 然后南加大的我们有一个非常有特色的项目，叫做南加大中国职业发展导师项目。那这个项目自2018年成立以来，得到了来自南加大的校友、企业伙伴的大力支持。项目吸引了超过将近200名优秀的校友以及企业导师的参与。导师们来自于彭博、摩根大通、谷歌、波士顿资讯、瑞银、苹果、迪士尼、华为、诺华、汉坤事务所、大成事务所、欧莱雅等知名的企业。那么今年我们的项目会将分为2个部分。 分别为行业的分享小组以及1对1的导师辅导项目。那行业分享小组呢，将面向所有的同学开放，其中包括了行业线上直播分享以及线上的导师 coffee chat 交流机会。1对1的导师项目呢，时长为1年制的项目，将根据同学的申请意向，为同学们提供1对1的职业辅导的机会。那今年呢，我们将主办包括7个行业分组的活动，包括了创业组、影视传媒组、金融资讯组、科技工业组、快销与零售组、法律行业组、医药与大健康组。学生们可以在直播活动中和我们的行业嘉宾进行互动与交流。那每周呢，我们也将会邀请1位行业嘉宾在线与5到10位同学进行小规模的线上职业辅导的这个交流机会。Next slide, please. 那大家可以看到，这些都是我们曾经参与到和我们现在参与到我们项目中的这些来自不同行业和企业的导师们加入到了我们的职业发展导师项目。Next slide. 那么在2023年期间呢，我们其实非常荣幸的邀请到了2位法学院 LLM 专业的校友导师参与到我们线上的直播项目以及 Trojan in China 的采访项目。那来自汉坤事务所的合伙人以及大成律所的合伙人分享了关于行业的洞见以及求职相关的建议。那在2024年的项目当中呢，也有不少法学院的校友参与到了我们的项目中。我们也期待在2024年可以为法学院的同学们提供更多的求职相关的服务。Next slide, please. 那么这是我们刚刚提到的线上导师 Coffee Chat 的活动。那每一周我们会邀请1位行业导师在线与5位到10位同学进行小规模的线上职业的辅导。那我们将在我们南加大中国职业发展办公室的微信社群中进行宣传报名。同学们也可以通过邮件的方式联系我们进行报名参与到我们每一周的活动中。Next slide, please. 那么我们还有另外一个非常有特色的项目，叫做南加大职业发展校园大使项目。我们的大使们都是来自于南加大各个学院和专业的学生组成的。那么在过去的5年中，我们的校园大使们以特洛伊人特有的自信以及热情，协助我们中国职业发展办公室举办各类的线上以及线下的招聘活动。那积极的与优秀校友以及雇主联系，为身边的同学们分享最新最有用的求职资讯和技巧。那今年呢，我们也有不少校园大使们带着满满的收获陆续进入了职场。每一位校园大使都为我们的工作注入了独特的个性和活力，但不变的是我们为之骄傲的为特洛伊人服务、连接和传承的使命。我们也非常欢迎在线的同学们关注并加入到我们的项目当中来。Next slide, please. 那南加大学生职业发展中国办公室呢，还有专属的求职网站通道。那中国的雇主可以通过我们专属的求职招聘网站发布实习以及全职的机会。同学们可以实时的关注我们的求职网站进行投递。Next slide. 那讲了那么多，同学们可能也想了解如何关注南加大学生职业发展中国办公室。你们可以通过邮件关注我们的公众号，以及加微信小助手的微信号和我们取得联系。我们还将邀请同学们进入我们的求职发布微信群。那您将获得实时的求职活动以及求职的信息。非常期待你们可以加入南加大大家庭，那期待在以后的活动中和大家见面。谢谢大家。Fight on. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much, Wenting.
Okay.
And Steph, will turn it back to you for our last
Sure.
representative.
Sure. Our last alumni speaker is Xin Gui. Xin earned our LLM degree in 2016. She passed the bar in China. Currently, she is working at Beijing DHH law firm as a joint partner. Xin, what would you recommend to our students doing while studying LLM in terms of career development and its preparation? Can you share your experience and thought with us?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. 我用中文来说，因为今天我这个状态不是很好，所以我没有开视频。那么关于我们这个职业规划的话，以及作为 LM 学生之后是找工作的这个状态，我从做律师和做法务的这条职业路线来做一个简单的分享。像我们这个 USC 非常大的一个优势是我们 USC 的校友资源是非常丰富且强大的，所以在我的个人职业经历来看，我的就是无论是之前的就是在公司里面做法务的时候的这个同事领导，还是后来我去律所来自己拓展客户，我们 USC 的这个校友资源对我的这个帮助是非常大的。我现在的很多的客户，包括就是都是我们 USC 的同学当初的这些或者是校友来给我介绍，或者直接就变成我的客户。那么这些是我们在USC 在读的时候，不仅是跟我们的这个法学的同学，还是跟我们其他学院的同学去做一个这样的交流，是非常非常有帮助的。当然，我并不是说一定要是以一个很功利的态度去用这些资源，但是USC 本身是一个非常开放和包容的多元化的一个就学习环境，所以有这样的一个氛围在那边，大家自然而然会有很多的共同语言，然后在之后的这个职业道路上面也会有很多的这个相互协助，去相互去成为这个共同往前进的一个战友。那么另外一方面是我们 USC 就是法学院，它有很多的这个学业模块，certificate 这些方向。那么从我个人的职业经历来看，我现在是主要做生物医药这一块儿，这个我们法学院目前可能没有就是非常特殊的一些就是板块，但是如果我们的同学，比如像entertainment law 应该是还是有的。那像如果有对某一块的这个就是这个行业很感兴趣，那么这个其实是对未来的这个职业规划和发展是非常有帮助的。因为无论是做律师，还是说之后去做公司的法务，对于行业内的了解深度和广度非常有帮助。自己在这个行业去深挖并且立足，这个是如果我们同学之后有进到我们这个 USC Law 里面来以后，大家是可以去非常非常专的去对一个领域进行学习。当然，同时也是要多去了解其他领域的这个相关的情况，以便未来跟大家的这个职业发展可以更好的匹配。然后还有一点是，我们 USC 的这个地理环境是非常好，地理位置也是非常好的，在加州的一个黄金地带。那么，从我个人的这个职业经验来看，加州因为本身华人很多，以及如果是回中国大陆、中国内地去工作的话，那么其实中国内地是有很多的人，他对美国的很多的印象可能更多的是来自加州或者是纽约。那么你对加州这一块的熟悉程度会成为跟回到内地去工作无论是去进行一个客户的这个对接，可能会成为一个大家的一个共同话题的一个点。那么我们来学校去读书是必然是要去把本职的这个学生工作要做好，但是也要抬头看向窗外，多去享受一下加州的阳光，多去看一看就是外面的美好的风景。这个也是一方面是愉悦身心，另一方面也是未来大家去 沟通聊天的时候，也是大家一个美好的回忆。那希望大家能就是加入我们 USC 是能给到大家非常多的一个资源，也是可以成为我们未来职业发展非常好的一个起点。然后谢谢 ，Thank you。
Thank you for sharing your experiences. Okay, now I will turn it over back to Sarah.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks so much. So with that, that ends the kind of prepared part of our presentation, and we'll move into open questions and answers. Whoops, this was the end of our slide deck. I want to thank our wonderful panelists for joining us. I really appreciate you sharing the time and sharing more about your experience at USC. I'm grateful as well to Wenting for joining us and providing a lot of information about the great things that our China Career Services Office does. If you have questions that come through, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will get to them. And thank you again for joining us. I hope that this was a helpful event.